Hey everyone, welcome back. This is another anime review, obviously, as you can tell from the title, and this was one of my favorite anime of the fall of 2013, which actually just recently ended. And it ran for a while, for a total of 26 episodes, in fact. It is Nagi no Asukara. Or From Calm Tomorrow, but let's call it Nagi no Asukara. So Nagi no Asukara was written by Project 118, illustrated by Riso. Wait, no, that's the manga. The anime was directed by Toshiya Shinohara and written by Mari Okada and by Studio PA Works, and it originally ran from October 3rd, 2013 to April 3rd, 2014, so exactly 6 months, wow. For a total of 26 episodes, as I said before. So, the plot. Long ago, human civilization had lived on the ocean floor. However, there were many humans who wanted to live above the surface, and they moved to land, creating a fundamental separation between the two. Because basically they angered the sea god and whatnot. After their school closed down, 4 14-year-old middle school students from the sea village Shio had to attend Mihama Middle School on the surface. What follows is their struggles to adjust to a new environment and the relationships between the sea and the land people while dealing with their own newfound feelings that had just started appearing with the end of their childhood. And that basically sums up the plot of the series. First off, the plot's actually very unique, which is definitely a plus. Again, not a necessity, but it's still a plus. It's a positive when you think of something unique, alright? The plot's unique, and it works so well, okay? I cannot praise this series enough. But I'll try. So yeah, I'm going to be kissing this series' ass in this video, just so you know. Alright, so for some reason you didn't like it, this is not a series where I'm going to be hating on it. Or this is not a video where I'm going to be saying, well, really negative, because I couldn't think of anything negative about the series. I'm sure it exists. I'm sure I could find it with multiple viewings, but I don't have time to view it again. So yeah, this series all around I thought was really fucking good. Really, I think that's all I have to say about the plot, though, because the plot was simplistic, but it worked and it was very unique. Now for the characters. The main character is Hikari Sakishima, one of the 4 children from Shio. He has a short temper and usually scolds Monika for her mistakes, though he has deep romantic feelings for her. Alright, Hikari is a pretty generic main character, but this is very common even in real life with characters so young, or with people so young. He does have a very short temper, and he often, not only at Monika, but also lots of other characters as well, gets upset at them and whatnot, and really just loses his temper a lot in the series. But you do see him grow as a character over the course of the series. I do think he is one of the better developed characters in the series, simply because you see him grow from someone who really doesn't understand his feelings too well, first off. Alright, because he's just a kid, he's just 14 years old, he doesn't really know what he feels at first, and he grows to learn more about it, and ultimately decide what he feels over the course of the series, and I thought it worked out really well. There's also Monika Mukaido, one of the students from Shio. She is an indecisive middle schooler who is prone to cry. Monika is shown to have feelings for Sumugu, who is one of the friends that they end up making from the surface. So Monica was also a really cool character. Again, she is a pretty generic character in terms of there's lots of female characters in anime that are really indecisive. They cry easily. Their feelings are easy to be hurt. But I think Monica is actually one of my favorites in this series in terms of that, simply because she does develop over the course of the series tremendously. And it makes me, like, I wasn't a fan of her character when the series started, basically. I did like some scenes that she had with other characters, but in terms of her character in and of herself, I wasn't a fan of her character in the beginning. Alright, but I grew to like her character more due to the over the course of the series, which I was oh god, which I really liked. Hold on a sec here. Now, only my second review I'm making today, or recording today rather. I'm already getting my throat hoarse here, goddamn. Well, my last one was Log Horizon, which lasted for 18 minutes. But anyways, though. So, yes. That's Monica. Sorry. Lost track of her for a second. There's also Chisaki Haradaira, one of the students from Shio. She has feelings for Hikari, but is afraid to admit it after realizing that he is in love with Monica. She is afraid it will ruin their relationships and hides her feelings. And later on, she actually ends up having feeling. Well, Tsumugu, who a character I'll talk about a little later, has feelings for her. And at the end of the series, by the end of the series, she ends up developing feelings for him as well. At least I'm pretty sure she does. Even though towards the end she denies it, I'm pretty sure by the last episode she does have feelings for him. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure though. Alright, and Chisaki was also a character I liked too. She wasn't my favorite character, but she was still an interesting character. I do think that they could have done more with her character, even though they didn't, but I still liked her as a character because lots of these characters have, like, this series deals a lot with characters' feelings and exactly how they feel because it's a drama through and through, but the majority of the drama is actually romance. Alright. Then, of course, there's Kaname Isaki, one of the students from Shio, Hikari's best friend, who is quiet and mature for his age. He is in love with Chisaki and cares deeply for her. So Kaname kind of is in love with Chisaki, and so that's kind of, I think it's interesting how they structured the whole romances in this series because, Hikari loves Monica, Chisaki loves Hikari, Kaname loves Chisaki, Monica loves Tsumugu loves Chisaki. It's mind implosion. Yeah. But it works out really well because the writing is fucking amazing in this series, okay? Now, let's talk about Tsumugu. Tsumugu is a boy from the surface whose grandfather is a fisherman, and I think we actually learn later that his grandfather was actually from Shio in the past. One day, unfortunately that plot point didn't go anywhere though, which I kind of wish that it did though. One day he meets Monica by reeling her in a net. He is quiet, stoic, and very interested in the underwater world. His grandfather's from the sea, like I just said. Tsumugu has a complicated relationship with his mother, and like I said before, he has feelings for Chisaki, but at first she has feelings for Hikari, and that once again adds a lot of extremely well written drama to the series, which I think worked out so well. And eventually those two, I said, like I said before, again, I'm pretty sure they end up getting together by the end of the series. Alright. But those aren't the only interesting characters. There's also Miyuna, a third grade elementary school girl, although after the time skip, which I'll talk about how well they did the time skip in a second here, but after the time skip, it's 5 more years. So she'd be in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. Alright. Miyuna met Akari, who is Hikari's elder sister, when she visited them shortly after she was born. She loves Akari, but the thought of losing her like her mother caused her to refuse to accept Akari as family. Basically, fell in love with Miyuna's father and was planning on marrying him. Oh god. So Miyuna's an interesting character because later on in the series we find out that she's actually in love with Hikari, which seems like it's really creepy at first, but I don't think we actually learn this till the time skip in which she would actually be Hikari's age. Alright, because after the time skip, she and her friend Sayu were Hikari's age. And it's kind of interesting because her friend Sayu, who was also a cool character, after the time skip, found out that she was in love with Kaname. And yeah, it just... The series never stopped, or I mean it did eventually, but it took a while for the series to stop connecting the lines of who was in love with who. Like, really. Okay, but... And there are a lot of other characters in the series I'm not going to really talk about in depth, alright? Except for Uroko. He was basically I guess they called him the scale of the sea god. I guess it's just someone who carries out the sea god's wishes and duties, but I kind of wish that they would have elaborated more on Uroko in the series, because unfortunately they really didn't. But I thought he was an interesting character, because at first he seemed really cold and conceited, but later on I do think and really just cares about duty above all else, his duty rather, as the scale of the sea god. But later on I think we do get hints that he really does care about his subjects, He just found it difficult to disobey the sea god, if not impossible. Alright, so I thought he was a really cool character as well. Although my favorite character, actually, I don't know who my favorite character would have been. Maybe Miyuna. She was a really cool character, I thought, especially after the time skip. Now let's talk about the time skip, which is something else with the plot, too, actually, obviously, but still. I want to talk about the time skip now, because halfway through the series, and yes, it was actually half, I'm pretty sure that the time skip started at episode 14, if I'm not mistaken. There was a time skip in which 5 years passed, and the reason for this 5-year time skip was because so many people were going to the surface. The sea god, according to Uroko, wanted to exact his vengeance, so he was going to freeze it over, which is kind of weird because all it did was snow up there. It didn't really freeze it over completely. And it was snowing underwater as well, which is kind of weird. But, and basically the members of Shio had to hibernate. And, I know Kaname hibernated. I think Hikari did as well. And I think Monica might have... Yeah, Monica did too. Alright, so those three hibernated. However, Chisaki stayed at the surface, and so did Akari, Hikari's sister. She stayed at the surface as well. Alright, but the rest of them hibernated, and which meant that they actually wouldn't age at all when they hibernated. So that's how Miyuna was able to come to terms with her feelings for Hikari, because he didn't age at all when he hibernated. Alright, so that was a pretty cool thing. And a lot of times when you do time skips like this, it doesn't really work in anime because it seems really forced and contrived, but not here. I felt that the time skip flowed very well in this series, which was, of course, really good too. Now, as if I haven't kissed this series ass enough already, let's talk about the animation and art. The art, not really much to talk about. Not too original, but it works. And the animation. This is some of the best animation I have ever seen in an anime, period. Okay. Some of the fucking best everything. Like, I don't know if I'd go as far as to saying it's the best, but I just might. Because this is fucking phenomenal quality animation here. Alright? I don't think there's a single scene in the entire fucking show where absolutely nothing is moving at any given time. There are scenes when there's a lot less stuff moving. I don't think there's a single scene when there's nothing moving. Which is, of course, great, you know? Now let's talk about the music. Dear God. Another thing for me to praise with this series, I forget who composed this soundtrack. God damn it. Hold on a second, let me try to find it. God damn it. Yeah, I don't know who composed. Wait. Work, screenplay, room. Okay. No, it doesn't say, unfortunately. But the music is fucking beautiful in the series. It really is. Outstanding. The first opening I thought was amazing. I am a really big fan of J-pop, and it was one of the best J-pop songs I've ever fucking heard. The first and second ending were pretty good. Not amazing, but pretty good. And the second ending was, again, pretty good. You know, it wasn't amazing, but it was pretty good. That being said, I think I'm about done with this review. So do I recommend this series? Well, what do you fucking think? It's incredible. I mean, it's clear that a lot of time and effort went into this series, and I loved every single episode. I was so hooked when watching the series. And that's the best way to describe it. I was fucking hooked. From the moment it started to the moment it ended, and I wasn't satisfied. Oh my god. And the thing is, I don't really think a season 2 is necessary, but I mean, I'd obviously watch it if it came out, but I don't think it's necessary, but I still wasn't satisfied. That's a really weird thing, you know, with me. So yeah. Anyways, though, hope you enjoyed this review, guys. He's after, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.